Hello, welcome back. All right, so now I'd like to discuss with you the Barista Championship District Level Scorecard. These are available for you on the hub. If you are not a Starbucks partner or not competing in the Starbucks Barista Championship this year, this video will be quite dull for you. If, however, you are, this is exactly what you need to know. We're going to discuss each of those points side by side. These are my own opinions based on my own experiences and not official to Starbucks in any way whatsoever. I have judged 3 area level championships before, and I have won area level twice, and I'm undefeated at district. I have been a barista trainer since 2015 and coffee master since 2015 and trained and led countless people through the coffee master program as well. I am certified as a coffee master still in the UK, where I went to certify there after we closed the program here. And now I am enjoying wonderfully the Coffee Academy that we've got, and highly encourage you to do that too if you have not already. All right, so here's what we've got. We'll take as long as we need to with this. Get this score sheet if you don't have it already, and get to know it very, very well. The competitions are partly about all of your knowledge, but also partly about being able to deliver that knowledge and making sure that you tick every single box of things that they're scoring on. So these are the actual score sheets that your judges will be sitting there with while they watch either your video submission or watch you in person or watch you via live broadcast wherever it is your judges are spending their time. So they have carefully not put in this year a sensory section, so they will not formally be tasting your things. Those will not be scored, interestingly enough. So there we go. All right. First of all, point number 1, and I said this in the last video, and I cannot make this point enough. Dress code, including a clean apron. Not that I have to tell you that, but we've all seen it. We've all walked into Starbucks, people at our own stores pulling something off the hook and just wearing it. Don't be that person. The very first point they will give you is, are you in dress code? Are your clothes the right color? It's not worth wearing the clever shirt with the espresso pouring unicorn on it. You'll lose the point on it. Stick with what actually works. And if you're here to win, that's important. That being said, I've seen people have special bow ties made of whatever it was they wanted to show at Starbucks for a little bit of their flair. They've had all of their official issue buttons, their fanciest or best apron that they picked up wherever at the roastery or something like that. So have some fun with it, but dress code. Know your dress code. All right, next up, did you create a warm and welcoming environment? This is 2 points. Just for the record, while we're talking about this, the total number of points is 36 plus a few bonus points. So I'll tell you the points as long as we go. It's written here, but this shows the emphasis that they're trying to do. Warm and welcoming environment. Pretty arbitrary. It's tough. But if you made them feel welcome, make your eye contact, use names. If you know the names, if not, take the moment. They are the best advice I got in this was from the 2015 grand champion of the whole thing of the areas when I talked with him for coaching the following year. And he said to me, he said, treat them like they are your customers. Make sure they know they're your customers and treat them always like that. Because if the judges feel like customers and you treat them like gold, they will want you to win. And that was the best advice. And I have been using that ever since. I have coached several other people to victory as well. So create a warm and welcoming environment, get their names. If you don't know them, if you do know them, use their names, use eye contact, welcome them, say you're glad they're here, and it's exciting to see them judging. Don't worry about being too familiar. Like if you know them really well, like giving them a hug, I think would be inappropriate. But I know my old RD. Hey, how are you? It's great to see you again. How long has it been? Wow, it's like make them feel friends. That is part of the thing. And if your timer's going for your 15 minutes on this, the timer's going. You are on and being judged. Make those friendly connections any way you can. Own that, and there's no shame in this. That's a strategy. Okay. Next, smiled and made eye contact during the presentation. Very specific. Did you smile? Did you make eye contact? Some people are nervous, and some of your competitors are going to be nervous. That's automatically going to put points in your pocket. Cool. Good job. Next, and this is worth 3 points. There's a lot of emphasis here. Barista was engaged throughout the presentation, demonstrating knowledge and using approachable language. So I have seen ones where customers where competitors will go in and be very informal and very a lot of knows and a lot of things. It's still a professional engagement. Treat it as such. Treat it as a professional thing. Put on your public speaking face and go with that. But more importantly, and here's a fun one, I know that we run the risk as coffee professionals of alienating people. And if we talk about, well, the extraction that we're looking for here is relative between 18 to 23% is what we're really going for. And we want to have the right amount of acidity go into our cup. Like we can talk about that. Um, but the way around getting ticked against using inappropriate language is saying, oh, you judge one, judge two. You're both in the coffee industry. I see this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to treat you as customers with coffee background. If you'd rather me tone this down, I can do that. But if I were getting to know you as new customers, and you're completely allowed to say this, if I were getting to know you as new customers and I found out that you're both in coffee, I would share with you everything I knew. So that's how you can keep it level and make sure that you are then setting the stage so that they feel included and that they know you're talking to them at your level and at their level rather than trying to sound highfalutin with what you're trying to tell them about how much you know about coffee. Because I have seen also presentations where people threw every big word they had out there and really missed the mark because even people in the coffee industry didn't really know what they were talking about or couldn't connect what the barista was talking about or kind of missed it. Or there's even worse, when you get a barista who's trying to throw too many words out and they don't really know what they mean. So speak to your own comfort level, whatever that is, because we're only talking about refreshers, shaken espressos, and brewing coffee. Treat it to whatever level is your comfort level. Own that. Get very good at it and run through the presentation with your family once or a friend or somebody else you know. There's no rule against rehearsing. So do that as well. And then finally, in the overall presentation part, is the were you confident and comfortable leading the experience? That's again a reason to go through this first, either with a friend or two or with your manager. Your managers are your biggest support right now. They want you to win at district. It brings glory to your store. It brings glory to your coworkers, makes your manager look good to your district, and then it brings everybody some notoriety when you get to that area level. Your store manager will help you with this. Ask them and say, hey, can I schedule a time to do my 15-minute presentation with you, my talking presentation for the drinks, and then another 15-minute one? And you can do them different days, but practice them to the point where I can talk to you about my Chemex, because here's my Chemex folder. The filters that I've got go like this, and I like this particular filter, the unbleached ones, as opposed to the bleached ones, because the bleaching flavor that gets in there. Or you can rent whatever you brew. Talk about that, own it, love it. There's no points for making a right decision or wrong decision. It's only points about talking about it. So do it with that confidence, like you own this, and you've already won your store level. You've already been selected. Your store manager already thinks you have a very good chance of taking this to that next level. Know that you've got the support of your store manager, your team, and everybody else at Starbucks wants you to succeed. All right, so the next big section is beverage quality. Can you follow and explain the major steps? This should be really, really straightforward, but all the same, if you're doing a video of this submission, or if you're doing it in person, make sure you talk about what's on the recipe card. Well, the first thing I do is make sure that I put the refresher concentrate in here to this line. This matters because the ratio is important for consistency, for flavor, whatever. Just make sure you talk about it. And this is where I'm getting into the talking about your ticking off your dots to make sure that you do everything on the scorecard. Because if you just follow the instructions and make your drink right, you lost your point. If somebody else follows the instructions okay, but talks through every single step that they're doing it, they'll get the point and you won't. And it doesn't mean that they're actually necessarily a better barista. They just followed the instructions a little bit more closely. So do that. In other years, also, I have put in a little, like a 3x5 note card, and put it up on my espresso machine, or a little folding card in front of the judges where I could see, like a little triangle card where I could read my spot, to make sure that I was addressing all of my major talking points. There's no rules in here against having cue cards. It's completely okay, especially if it helps you get all of your points across. So shot time within correct range, 18 to 23 seconds. If you can say a couple of things about that, that'd be great, about why that matters. Let's see, describe the tasting experience of the beverage. Can you describe it either on the card or your own experience, or something along those lines? But don't just say, hey, here's your drink, hope you like it, I made a good one, here you go, or we've all seen the card. Like, describe it in some way. What they're looking to do with this is make sure that you can relate this to a customer. So we've got a customer never been to Starbucks before, and you say, hey, this is our tasty beverage number 3. It's got these notes to it. You'll like this sweetness or this acidity or this espresso, whatever those things are. Just be sure you can describe that in some way. for somebody who's never tried that before. And in this case, treat your judges as somebody who may never have tried this particular concoction. The visual standards met and cup is free of spills. I cannot tell you. So in the second time I competed and won in 18, out of a total of like 190 points, because we had a total of 4 judges, each did their own scorecard, I won by 2 points. I got 192. The next one down was 190 points. Incredibly competitive. That's one spill on the outside of your cup right there. Make sure your cups are clean and dry when you pass those things off. That matters. They will lose a point for that. They'll gain you a point for that, and somebody else is going to forget. So leaving your work area clean does matter. There's, interestingly, no penalty for wiping down the cup before you present it. So if you make the biggest old mess there is, because most years we did ceramic for here mugs, you make the biggest old mess there is, you got gunk all over the outside, wipe it off, pass the cup down, throw away your napkin, and you lose no points. So there's no penalty for that. Just make sure the cup is clean on its way out. Okay. Next, did you describe, so there's a bonus point, go for the bonus points. I don't know why you would avoid these things. I described how signature espresso adds flavor to the drink. This is the iced shaken espresso. Describe it, read about it, take when you want the classes, read the descriptions on it. It's online. Say something about it. I don't need to tell you what's the difference between signature espresso and blonde and why signature adds to this. This is where your own spot for some creativity is in there. But try it both ways. If you don't know this, if I'm saying this and you don't know it and you find yourself in this awkward spot, try the signature and try the blonde and see what you think and put it in your own words. Perfectly valuable, perfectly valid way to go about this. Okay, so the Starbucks refresher quality standards. So the first one that we just talked about is a total of 5 points. Here's 5 more points right here. 1 point for did you follow and explain the direct steps? Did you explain why you chose the Starbucks refresher? So the phrasing on this is a bit peculiar to me. Why you chose it? Well, it's a required choice. So why did I don't know. But you have to explain why you chose it. I'm guessing it's of the 3 major options. Why you chose the one you did. Pick a good reason. It's just a point for not how convincing you are. I don't drink refreshers. I will say that now. I love my black coffees. I make my own cold brews. I roast my own beans. There's so much I love about coffee. Refreshers are none of those things. They are a sweet concentrate with green coffee bean extract added for caffeine. People give them to their kids all the time. I don't know. But between now and then, I'm going to taste all of them again, and I am going to have a sincere reason why I chose the one that I did, and that is that. Visual standards met, and the cup is free of spills. Just do your drink right. So they also have a bonus point. Did you customize this in some way? I know somebody watching this right now said, I love refreshers, Nate. I don't get why you don't love refreshers. This is going to be so cool. I'm going to finally share my pink drink made with heavy cream and vanilla sweet cream, cold foam, and extra caramel drizzle, and 15 scoops of vanilla bean powder. Cool, good for you. Do it. Do it. It's not, you get no penalty if your drink is gross. If you love this and you can explain why you did it, you get the point. And that's completely all right. And then so the next one is, can you describe why you customized this? So what is it you love about the heavy cream? Because it's clearly not keto. There's sugar added to this. So I don't know, but whatever your thing is, this is what I love, and here's why. What they're looking for is that connection. So how many times have you made a customer or a recommendation to a customer? You go through all this, I love my espresso macchiato. I have my raw sugar in the bottom for this reason. This is my kind of foam and my milk, and this is the drink I love the most and drink every day. What would you like? Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Caramel frappuccino. Okay, cool. We've all been there. We've all done that countless times. So what they're looking for is, can you describe it, why it matters, why it's important to you, why you love it, and if you're lucky enough to be in person, you get to share it with somebody, and maybe it'll become their favorite drink too. There is so much potential for these and for refreshers, and I see it every single day. It's just not my historical cup of tea. Technically, it's not a tea anyway. It'd be a cup of, but that's a side point. All right. So that's another 5 points for the refresher. So then we get to the overall knowledge and coffee craft. And this right here is where we start getting to have some fun. I predict that most of the drinks, other than losing obvious points for spills or somebody who puts blackberries in a strawberry refresher, unless they describe that, then you can still do it. We'll see how it all goes. But most people get the most points, but that's only 10 so far. Plus presentation. So now we get to coffee knowledge and coffee craft, and here's where we can shine, because so much of this is about relating and storytelling and knowing our customers. So one point is how do you know that you're creating the best moments for customers, and how have you adjusted this last year? So the important thing here, have a story ready. There will be plenty of baristas who haven't seen this form, and I even at area level, that have not seen the form and haven't looked it up. And so they'll say, okay, here's my refresher, here's my thing, I hope you like it. The more lenient judges, and I have really appreciated them for doing this, have said, oh, so how have you made some best moments this last year? Can you tell us some about that? And they'll try to they'll ease us along. So you will have those moments where you'll see your fellow competitors awkwardly missing the points. Put these on your cue card. Be ready for them. You can have it in your hand. You can have it on the bar. Have your cue card ready. But how are we making best moments? The second worst option is rather than being completely unprepared and having them have to ask you, is not being familiar with this. And when your judge says, okay, tell me a best moment story. Well, I what no, don't do that. Think about your story now. Have that ready. Practice telling that story to the mirror, to the camera. Watch yourself. Tell it to your partner, roommate, Starbucks partner, store manager. Tell people the story to get familiar with how you do that. Um, it's important on that one. Just have something ready, because we've all had these touching moments where we've worked with a healthcare worker who needed that pick me up in the morning, or they were clearly bedraggled after working way too long, and I got to give them their coffee. I work between two hospitals, and I got to know so many nurses, especially when we did a really cool giveaway. We had our free tall coffees for all medical staff. You know how much credit I got for inventing that program? I didn't do it. I told them I didn't do this, but I love taking the credit. And yes, of course, you can have a free coffee every morning. So whatever your stories are, use those. All right. How do you support teamwork in your shift? And what have you done differently than this year? I can't tell you answers for this, but think about how you foster teamwork, because Starbucks is looking now for people who are coffee leaders. Not just I make my own drinks and I go home and my drinks are right and it's okay, but how do you inspire people? How you bring people to up their quality or their customer engagement? How are you working to elevate your craft is the next one. What do you do to be better every day? Do you just walk in and declare, yeah, I'm pretty good, I'm good? Or do you do something else? And do you add more to it? And that's up to you, but you tell your story on that one. I personally, as far as these shaken drinks go, get to talk about my bartender flair. I like to do the tumbler tossing. Got a couple of flips, some high pours, and some other things that I've been working into those. And so even though we're not doing latte art at all, notice there is zero latte art in the scorecard, by the way. Even though I'm doing these simple drinks where it's a craft, it is this much one liquid, this much other liquid, berries, shake with. I'm tossing these things. I got some over the shoulder stuff. I'm bringing my other partners into it, and it's been a lot of fun. So have a story ready for how you can do that. So here, next, this is a good. This is worth 3 points. This is worth more points so far than any other one thing. So give this a moment and think about. Make sure your answers are ready. What would you share with a customer about Starbucks' commitment to ethical sourcing and cafe practices? Cafe practices, the coffee and farmer equity. You can look up, and I'm not going to give you any answers here, come up with what resonates with you, but look up Conservation International and how we partner with them to oversee so much of our work in the world. Look up farmer support centers. There's some brilliant things there. In fact, even just the regular Starbucks website has a number of resources for this. Coffee Academy has some great tutorial videos and background information on this. And if you pull a few tidbits out, you'll really stand out from there. Also, the bags, all of the coffee bags have bits of stories on there. So there's no shortage of places. You can also look up the coffee fact sheets on the hub, which will give you background as far as when they're introduced, where the beans are from, oftentimes how they're processed, and so on and so forth. So there's a number of great things there. But do have these answers ready rather than having to think of them day of. We've got the huge advantage of time for preparation. Use it. All right, next up, bonus points. I don't know why you would again not take up bonus points. Use them. How have you used the Starbucks traceability app to make connections with customers? I've got a handful of stories, but I've used this. Look up the Starbucks traceability app if you have not used this before. There's a little barcode on the back of every. It's not a barcode. It's underneath the barcode on the back of every bag is a random code. Apparently random code that you and I have never looked at before. But what it does is it's unique to every bag of coffee. It's like its own serial number or batch number, traces it to where it was roasted in the country, so we can actually find out where all of our roasting plants are, which is really cool, where it came from, its origin, and so many other things about it. So it's a completely really cool traceable thing, and it is fantastic to connect with customers over that. And I know I've got a story ready to go for me about a customer who came in looking for fair trade Italian because she felt so strongly about fair trade, but she was completely unfamiliar with Starbucks cafe practices, the farmer equity, and what we do for our trade, ethically sourced coffee and things like that in our standards. So I got to tell her stories, and by the end, I had my goosebumps going, and she actually was tearing up. So it's have those stories ready if you've got a thing that you can do with that. All right. So last up, 3 more points on this one. 3 points. Barista correctly identified the location of at least one farmer support center in each of the 3 growing regions. Last night we had 9 farmer support centers. These are in the European Coffee Master Program. If you're watching from Europe, check it out in there. If you're watching from the United States, you can find this information. It is in I believe the level 200 class of Starbucks Coffee Academy. I'm not going to give the answers to that now. I leave that bit of innovation, fun, and exploration to you to learn about the Starbucks Farmer Support Centers. They're very, very cool things where basically we take the best Western trained agronomists and teach people how to get the most yield from their land, give them free coffee trees. I don't know if you were here long enough ago to remember the 1 million coffee trees that we wanted to give away, which was then upped significantly time and time and time again. And so we give you free coffee trees, assess your soil, teach you how to farm your farm, and then promise to buy from you. So how cool is that? Go Starbucks. And we don't charge for it. This is a long-term, through the lens of humanity, for the good of the world, using our size for good, and so many other things that Starbucks stands for. So farmer support centers, get to know them, say a couple of things of your own about them. Can't say enough good stuff. Okay, so then finally, the second presentation you've got is the brewed coffee section. So you get a second 15 minutes for this. It looks this year like they're planning on having you do these things back to back because your overall presentation score is mixed in with all of these things rather than separate sheets for these. So it's going to be interesting to see how these things go, knowing that the making the drinks is what, 45 seconds a piece, give or take, leaving you with 13 minutes to tell stories and talk about your drink. So I imagine we'll kind of combine the whole thing together, but that might vary. In other years, what we've done is we had one station where we did our lattes and made our drinks, and a separate station where we did our coffee presentations. And then like it could be 1:30 p.m. for this one and 3 o'clock for that one. And then the times would just stagger. So it could have been that they were very different. So the way your scoring will work out may be slightly different than what we're talking about today, but it is a guess that many of us will go through and do these presentations back to back. But it's that will vary completely by your district manager and how things are organized based on their experiences. And there's not a right or wrong way to do that. All right, brewed coffee, my personal favorite. So why you chose your brew method is worth 2 points, and this can be a pour over. If you're doing a pour over, practice at home. Make sure you're doing pour overs at home. Make sure you've watched a few YouTube videos on pour overs, talk about proportion, and very importantly, know about grind and how that relates to time for pour over time. If you are doing these in your own store, make sure your grinder is calibrated. If you're not sure how to do that, you can look it up in the maintenance manual. Your manager should know how to do that. If they don't, talk to somebody who's been at the company for a while, but make sure that your grinder is calibrated so that your pour overs take the right period of time. A 6-minute pour over is not servable. A 2-minute pour over is not servable. I was lucky enough to have a brilliant experience one morning during Coffee Expo in 2018 when we were all in Seattle for the World Coffee Expo. And 20 of us met by plan at Starbucks Pike Place Market, Starbucks #1, where Sandy Roberts was waiting for us. And she did a beautiful and fun, inspiring presentation with the tiny of us early before the crowds even started. And she demonstrated the infamous Starbucks dump over, where you throw all the grounds in there, throw the water in, and there you go. You're done in about a minute and a half of drinking light brown water, versus a carefully crafted and skilled pour over where every attention is paid to every bit of detail and the flavor. Anyway, so know the differences and be able to demonstrate how to do whatever your brew method is. Bring in some background information. Make sure you're speaking from the official Starbucks standard, and if there is one, and elsewhere, and whatever other background information you've got. A cool factoid: if you look on the hub from the store, not from home, it's not accessible from outside the stores. We have access to roastery training. So if you are curious to know what the official Starbucks roastery is, the roasteries are doing for their Chemexes, we can look that up. Pretty darn cool. Anyway, whatever you find that you can share, do it and know it well, and act like you love it. Like that is your preferred brew method. In what is it, 16, when I started competing in 16, and I didn't have a Chemex yet. I bought a Chemex for the practice of it so that I could learn pour overs, and I am now pretty darn good at pour overs. So know about those. There's a chance your judge might not know as much about your brew method as you do. That does happen. We end up with a lot of really good district manager and above judges that may have been out of the field for a while, or things may have innovated since then, or they may not have that as a brew method. They might have one of our Verisma machines at home and never bother with a French press. They'll know a French press, but all the same, make sure you cover every detail. Here's why this is important, and here's why I'm doing it, which actually gets to the next points anyway. So this is important. Number 3, the 4 fundamentals of brewing and how they contribute to coffee quality. Aroma, acidity, body, and flavor are not the ones, those are the next ones. But water, proportion, freshness, and grind. Be able to talk about why the water matters, why the proportions matter, why the freshness matters, and why the grind matters. I'm not going to go into the details of those here. If you know them, you're golden. If you don't know them, double check your training. Double check the coffee passports. Those will give you a brief description of them. You can get those online, passport.starbucks.com, or in the paper ones. Sometimes those are available, sometimes they're not. But do know why water matters, why proportion matters, why freshness matters, and why that grind matters. Not just the trivia points of view, but from a real point of view. And in fact, if you've not done this experiment yet, make a coffee with too much or too little grounds in it. Try some old stuff. We've done all of these things, these experiments in Coffee Master classes in the past, and they're a lot of fun. Make bad coffee. Do it and enjoy it. And once you've made a bad cup, you'll know why it's a good cup, and you'll be able to speak from personal experience, which is tremendously valuable. All right, then we're actually going to go into describing the coffee flavor, water. This is aroma, body, acidity, and flavor. Know those things. Aroma. We go over these things every time we do a coffee cupping. If you've done these before, more power to you. If not, start. So every morning when you come in, try the blonde, the medium, and the dark. Give these things each a smell. Get to notice the differences in these things so you can speak knowledgeably about that. That's the aroma. The acidity is the tartness on the sides of your tongue. There's far more detail in this. But get to know these things so you can speak about them effortlessly and with knowledge in the coffee you present and how it compares to others. So saying this coffee is acidic is something, but this coffee is acidic compared to our French roast, which is not on the sheet anymore. It used to be core, now it's only available at grocery stores. But the French roasts so long that all we're tasting is char, is a roast, is all of it. The origin, flavor, and most of the bean characteristics are completely cooked away by customer request over the years, and so you end up with no acidity whatsoever. Well, knowing that, you can compare that to what you're actually serving and have that mean even more. So be able to discuss the spectrum of those things. So did you share additional knowledge through storytelling? And this is up to 3 facts not related to coffee flavor. So this can be origin. Where did your coffee come from? Can you tell a farming story? Can you tell some other trivia about your brew method? When was the AeroPress invented? Did you know that was by the same guy who invented that Frisbee in the 90s that set the records for being the world? Whatever your trivia is, make sure you've got some other interesting trivia related to your coffee that is not flavor. So you can even, and I would say, be as direct on these things as possible for your judges. I've got 3 facts not related to coffee flavor. That's okay. What you're doing is you're saying, here's the part I'm talking about. Please give me these points. Here are some things I'd like to discuss. Put that little break on your note card. Have the facts memorized, but have your outline ready to go too. Because basically what you're doing is you're telling these judges, who might be relatively new shift supervisors that have shown an interest, or that your district manager knows. It might not even be your district manager who might be doing the other judging. You have no idea how qualified your judges will be. Go ahead and let them know. You're about to give me points for this right now, and here's why. That's run with that. Make sure you get your points. So the last 2 bonus points, describe and recommend a food pairing and why, and then describe the impact of brew method on flavor. Food pairing, all of our coffees and the coffee fact sheets have food pairing suggestions. Try your own and do it. If you're lucky enough to be in person, you can even bring your food. It doesn't even say this time not to bring a food in. Of course, we might be meeting from home and broadcasting remotely, so nobody's even going to taste the food, but they might be in person too. So if you wanted to say for your Sumatra, I tried this because I had an amazing coffee master certification a number of years ago, where the barista brought in Sumatra and smoked Gouda on unsavory wheat crackers. Well, the buttery wheat crackers ended up bringing out the texture of the coffee really, really well. The smoked Gouda, the savory, unexpected savory, and it was a Gouda with herbs in it. And so we got to taste this, and it brought out all these other things after so many other sweet snacks that day in these presentations. Having savory, protein, Gouda is phenomenal. So you can do that too. There's no, it doesn't say here it has to be a Starbucks food pairing. So take some liberty with it, have some fun with it, and run with what you want. So the very last thing is for 1 point, discuss how brew method impacted on flavor. What's the difference between a pour over and a French press? When French press lets your oils through, filter will take some of those oils out, will change your flavor profile, can change your texture. If you want the non-scored bonus points, why is that? What is it that actually does? So all of those things are what you need to know and have ready to go in your mind at the tip of your tongue ahead of time. And if you come in prepared with this, you will do exceptionally well. The only way somebody could beat you at that point is if they also came in equally prepared and one of you got a spot on the outside of one of your cups or missed a bonus point of some sort along those lines. It would really come down to the final point. We've had other years where they have solved ties with things like latte art throwdowns. It is possible that there could be ties this year. Who knows? So when all this is said and done, your judges will go to the back of the room or someplace in the store. They will all tally their scores together. They'll add up everybody's scores and then and let you know who has won and gets to go on to the area competition later this year. So I hope this has been a helpful time for you. I hope this is inspiring to you and gives you some knowledge that you can use to go forward and be empowered, knowing you've got a really good chance at this. Who knows what the competition is going to be like this year? Some areas fierce, other areas not so much. Do not underestimate your competition. The mistake I made in 15, when that was the year they had the whole big shebang, grand prizes, travels to Seattle, and big grand prizes. I beat my store with my eyes closed. I beat all 8 people from my district without even trying and coasted into area and got walloped. Didn't see it coming. I got third. So I mean, it wasn't walloping the worst, but I was nowhere close to a first prize, which is what would have got me the Humvee stretch limo trip around Denver, breakfast, lunch, and dinner flown out here, then flown to Seattle as a grand prize, and so on and so forth. So, so there we have it. Do not underestimate your competition like I did. That's that. If you've got any questions, send them over. I get notification if there are comments and these things. And there have been a whole 2 or 3 over the years on these. So welcome. You're in good company. I wish you the very, very best. Have a wonderful time.